music producers? It's Curtis King at CurtisKingBeats.com, and today we are doing a slightly different video, but this video is going to focus specifically on how to study the competition when it comes to beats that are top selling on Airbit and Beatstars specifically. Obviously, these are the two biggest stores for Beatstars, but I know I made a video recently where I basically talked about the necessity to mind your own business, stop being a nosy music producer. But I think it is somewhat productive for some producers. I know some producers out there that still like to study the competition and just see what the market wants. I at least want to kind of give you my guide to how to study the charts so that you're making the most wise decisions when you have an opportunity to make beats. Now, in this video, I'm going to be playing a little snippet of some of the top beats on both Airbit and Beatstars. But what I want to do as I do this is I want to make sure that, you know, I'm only going to play a few samples of it because I don't want to get flagged for any kind of YouTube situations. But I mean, I might still get flagged, who knows. But we're going to go through the process. Here's the criteria that I pretty much like to judge both of these lists. And right now what I did was I went to the top charts on Beatstars. I have it arranged by top selling on all genres, right? Because they sell multiple genres there, just as Airbit does, even though I think it's more predominantly hip hop and trap. So on Airbit, I don't even look, and even on Beatstars, I don't even look at who the top producers are. That's not going to give me enough of the information that I need specifically when it comes to sort of studying what people are buying at this point in time. I need to know what the top beats are. So I'm going to focus here down on this section first and foremost. Now, here are the seven criteria that I pretty much judge these beats and kind of study them off of these 7 pieces of criteria that I'm going to share with you now. Number 1, is this beat that I am looking at in the top 10, is it an anomaly or is it a normal type of beat that everybody else is making? Is it common or is it a beat that's just sort of like one of those out of the box beats that nobody could have predicted that would be so successful? That's an important piece we want to make sure we focus in on. Second, BPM. You'd be surprised how similar a lot of these BPMs are for people who decide I want to purchase this beat. There's a big difference between the beats that they want to purchase and beats that they like. And so BPM plays a huge role into why people make these decisions, even more so than the third criteria, which is style. So we're going to talk about whether it's trap, whether it's hip hop. Also, then the fourth criteria is emotion. What emotion does it evoke? Does it give you an emotion? I guarantee you all of these top beats have a strong emotion attached to them, which is why they're top beats and they resonated so much with an audience. The fifth criteria, what type of beat it is. So is it a Little Skies type beat like we're looking here, Justin Bieber type beat, Drake type beat? I think that's important even if you don't do type beats because it kind of lets you know what the artists that are looking for beats, it kind of lets you know sort of who they have their ears on, and that's obviously important information we cannot ignore. 6, the amount of instruments that are within the beats, predominantly more so melodic instruments, because drums, I mean, obviously you got a kick, you got a snare, you got hi-hats, and there's different styles that you can do that in different texture and tones. But for the most part, when you're talking about hip hop and trap, if it's not boom bap or a trap beat, it's pretty much kind of working in the same realm, right? And the 7th and final criteria is what is the dominant melodic instrument? So from this criteria, let's go ahead and just give a few seconds to the top beats first and foremost on Airbit. Now, as you can see, there's a beat here called Skid It. So we're going to play a little snippet of it and kind of get an idea of, I'm kind of just give you my thoughts and I'm going to let you know kind of what I'm writing down. So some of these beats actually should have BPMs, but actually I'm going to take out my BPM on my phone just so that I have the opportunity to do this. So keep in mind, these BPMs may not be completely accurate, but it's going to be a very close case in case they didn't include it. Sometimes they do. Like if we right click here on the actual producer, sometimes they'll have the BPM. A lot of times they won't because, you know, some producers just don't fill in that information. So it's all good. So let's play a few seconds of the first one. It's Skid It by Producer Dope Boy. Okay, what's interesting about this one, let me actually go back and get the BPM. Okay, so this one is about 130 BPM. The interesting thing about this one is that it comes straight in, and that's probably the 8th criteria. If I had to list another one, structure of the beat is probably very important to study. And matter of fact, we're going to add that to it actually. So structure of the beat, even though you saw me skimming through it, you get an idea for sort of how the beat rises. Does it have any climax in it? Does it have anything in there that kind of messes around with the structure of the beat? Now, one thing I can say is that that beat just comes straight in, right? And so from listening to that beat, what it lets me know is that if we're looking back at the criteria, this is definitely more of a common type beat as opposed to an anomaly beat. The BPM is 130. The style, sort of like trap, darker trap. The emotions is definitely a darker emotion. We're not going to focus on type beat. The amount of instruments, it's not that many instruments going on. It's probably about 3 at the most melodically. And then the dominant melodic instrument in it just seems to be that synthesizer that's through there. So first and foremost, we got one beat here. I'm only going to go through 5 on each because I think this will be a very lengthy video if I go all 10. So the first one is 132, and we're going to take an average after we do all of this. So see, the first one's 132. Next one is Diamond. I can already tell you what's interesting about this is another beat where the drums are literally on the first intro of the beat. These are the top sellers. People just want to get straight to the point. We're looking at a 95 BPM, I believe, on this one. Definitely a more up-tempo, sort of like a West Coast feeling to it. I even get a little bit of some Atlanta vibes in it, but more so like LA and the Bay kind of sound. I get through it. Only probably about 3 melodic instruments in it. Like I said, once again, the BPM is about 96 is what the BPM is. So now we kind of know what we're working with right there. Let's go to this next beat. This is probably going to be our first example of an anomaly because Tone Jones is just, you guys saw the interview that I did with him. He's just such a very talented producer that is like, you don't see many producers like him. But let's play it just for the sake of this example. Okay, so this beat is about 85 BPM. So that's the information you need to get from this one. We're obviously not going to go over the other things because, like I said, this is an anomaly, but the BPM is still very important and something that I think that we can sort of deduce some information from. So that being said, let's go to the next one. This is Bets Up by producer Doughboy. Okay, same one that had the #1 list, or the #1 on the list. Once again, structure-wise, a beat that comes straight in with the drums. Definitely an 808 driven beat. Definitely something where the 808 is kind of the dominant instrument plus that synthesizer, the high synth. Even when he adds other instruments, you're seeing that they're very sparingly because what he's doing, which is probably why he's finding so much success, is that he's leaving room for the artist. It seems like a reverse piano almost. So that's something else that you might want to kind of have in your records. Let's go ahead and see what the BPM of this is. Okay, we're dealing with like a 160, which is, you know, sort of an 80 if we're talking about double time. So let's go ahead and just put let's just put 80 for this one. Okay. And yeah, so then let's go to the next one. Wow, producer Doughboy is dominating. Feeling the same way. So this is about a 97 in double time. So that's why it sounds so slow. But once again, what I can tell you just from the first 5 beats that we listened to here on Airbit, most of these are not anomalies. They're normal, right? So about 84 beats per minute is a safe bet of beats that are sitting here in the top 5 We haven't even gone through the top 10, but beats that are sitting in the top 5 are dominated in the 85 beats per minute range. So what it lets you know is that rappers are looking for things that have a little bit more tempo, but not too much tempo to where they can't really fit stylistically syllables and words in between. So they're looking for beats that are wide open. They're looking for beats with a very serious tone. They're looking for beats that don't take a long time to come in, intros and whatnot. They're not looking for these elaborate intros that a lot of producers try to put together. That's something that's important for you no matter what style of music that you make. And it's not to say that all your beats need to fit this criteria, but if you plan on promoting certain beats, I think there's certain beats that you definitely want to give a little bit more focus of. Now melodically, when you think about the majority of these, which obviously is dominated by the same producer, you're going to see that they're not using a whole lot of instruments, and it gives a lot of space for the artists, which is a very important factor for artists, right? Because they're looking for beats that don't steal the show from them. So I'm actually going to listen to one more. We're going to go to the Beatstars page. I just want to make sure that we have an accurate, pretty much an accurate depiction of what these lists are looking like, since it's really dominated by one person. Let's go ahead and see the artist Ashwagandha. Once again, a beat that starts right at the top. All right, I'm going to go ahead and skip a little bit further in there. Okay, we're looking at another 134. So that really doesn't stray too much. It comes straight in with the drums, and it's something that has a very serious demeanor. You don't see too many, like, I don't know, like super inspirational type of music. You don't see too many beats that are really happy chords and happy keys. You're seeing a lot of music that has a very serious tone to it. And I think that's something that you want to take into consideration. Now, some people may hear that and say, well, that kind of stifles my creativity. Well, no, it doesn't, because it gives you so many different, it gives you very basic terms and pieces of focus that you want to give your music as you create it. It's just a few things like BPM. Do you want to make a beat that's a little bit off the wall, or something that's more common of what people are actually buying into? Style wise, are you looking for something that is more trappy? And that's something I think I didn't really cover. Most of these seem to be more trap influence, which is not really a big surprise here. Amount of instruments, you're not really hearing beats with more than 3 instruments. Right, and I think that's done purposely to leave room for the rappers. I can tell you, my most successful beats have been beats that literally had probably 3 or 4 at the most, right? And that's not to say you should have a whole page of it. That's just to say that if you have beats that you're going to focus in for promotion's sake, you might want to look and see if they kind of fall within that criteria. It might be a little bit of a cheat code to help you. But that being said, let's go over to the Beatstars one, because these are producers that are exclusive here. These are producers that are exclusive here. First beat is called King by Black Rose Beats. Okay, cool. So you can see this one is 94 BPM. I was like 1 BPM off. So 94, 95, something that's definitely more up tempo. Once again, melodically, there's not a lot of instruments going on here. And once again, this is why it's probably one of the most successful ones, because it leaves a lot of room. It definitely has a dominant emotion. The emotion is very serious and straightforward. It definitely bangs. These are factors you got to pay attention to, because they apply to both Airbit and Beatstars. So doesn't really matter what you use. Artists are looking for things with very similar features, because they don't even understand why they like that, right? They just kind of hear something and feel a certain way, but a lot of artists are feeling something very similar to express their art. So next beat, Distraction by Danny B Tracks. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's my first time seeing it. Okay, so once again, we have what I feel like is an anomaly, because R&B is not a dominant sound of the day right? Of music that we hear on a regular basis, and at the same time, it's not dominant on these charts. So this may have been influenced by not only the fact that it's a slower BPM, but the fact that it is different from what you see amongst the common styles of music. So people heard that and were like, yo, and there's no telling too what this producer has credits on. So excuse my ignorance, but I can tell by listening to this is somebody who found a lane that not many producers can really comfortably go in, like trap. And this is probably why this beat fell into one of the top sellers. It's a lot of space. Dominant instrument is a Rhodes, and it's probably only like 3-4 instruments total. So dope. All right, next one is called Affection by Ty Beats. What? We got 2 R&B style beats in the top charts. One is 136. So it's interesting that as I'm looking at the BPMs that are listed here, most of them are a little bit faster. They don't stray too much, but they're a little bit faster. So I think that's something to pay attention to. These two to me represent anomalies, right? They're not common beats that you're going to hear. So I don't really want to get too much detail in that. Let's go to Wishmaster Beat Set Tree. Okay, so now definitely we get more into like the West Coast ratchet, Blueface type style beat. And with this beat, what I'm assuming is, once again, we're not even assuming. From what I heard, it's definitely a faster BPM. It's definitely something where the piano is more dominant, just like the sound of Blueface. And so this beat may actually stick out as an anomaly, even though there's a lot of beats on Airbit and Beatstars that kind of fit that. It's still not the dominant sound that every artist in hip hop is making. But with this beat, it probably found a lot of success around the same time that Thoughtsana started to catch fire, which is something else that you may be able to predict where the industry is going literally by finding songs that are already hot and matching the BPM. Right. And kind of, if you know how to make that style of music, go ahead and do your thing. But you could sort of find your lane. And once 102 BPM, that's the kind of stuff that gets played on radio. Anything that is like 93 to about 110, more so 95 to 110 nowadays, you're definitely talking about radio play. So this is probably where artists who want to get some radio play are looking to get a song like this, especially if they're influenced by Blueface. So super dope. Next one, Accent Beats Going.
Accent made this.
Once again, 86 BPM. So I think it's safe to say you're not going to see many beats in the top charts that are below 80 BPM or 85 BPM. Right. And that may be a bit controversial because obviously trap beats, when you double the time, they're 140, or when you bring it down, do halftime, it's 70. Right. And so the trap beats that are slower trap beats, they may sell well, but they're not top sellers. The top sellers are wide open beats with dominant 808s with limited melodic instrumentation. Right. Are there anomalies? They're beats that just you can't get anywhere else. And people are buying into it because of that. So let's go to one more, Robin by Mixtape Soul. Oh, I ain't even got to listen to the rest of it. That sounds fire. That is an anomaly. There's a reason why. He even put Music Soul Child and Mac Miller on that. There are artists that are buying this, one, because his producer is supremely talented, and then also, two, because you're just not going to find that sound very commonly. So if you hear something on it, you find a melodic idea, you're going to run with that. So basically from this video, here's what we can pretty much conclude. So most beats are not anomalies. Most beats are normal. And I know I'm probably butchering that word anomaly, but you know what I'm talking about. Two, most of the BPMs are between, they're faster BPMs, but on the slow end, they're about 85. On the high end, they're about 95 to 100. Style-wise, they seem to be mostly dominated by trap and hip-hop. Fourth, emotion. Most of the emotions are very serious and straightforward, or dark emotions. Five, type beats. I didn't really see a dominate. Well, I guess I say Drake's 6 always a dominant type beat, it seems like, because he's such a diverse artist that many different artists from different styles find his production very, very enticing. So this is a reason why those type beats work. 6, amount of instruments, not a whole lot of instrumentation going on, maybe in the beats that are anomalies, but not the ones that are the normal style. 7, the dominant melodic instrument. I could say synthesizers are probably the dominant instruments throughout these beats, synthesizers and pianos, but these are things that we pretty much either assumed or already know. But hopefully this helps you as you sit there and you study. Maybe you have this same criteria to go after so that it's not such a mystery to you, but hopefully that helps. If you guys have any questions or if you have any suggestions for other metrics that need to be studied, please share those in the comments below. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, be a part of the notification gang. Hey, doodle. Once again, in this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. It's Curtis King, the leading voice of online rappers and music producers around the community worldwide. Don't at me, boy. Peace. Please subscribe to the channel below. Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com.